Kelsey Kittner explains. These high school students spent this afternoon working on a science project, but this isn't your ordinary classroom exercise. They're taking part in Project Starshine. We're trying to clean off the surface of the mirror to make it more clean, more shiny, to get like dimples and curves and things out of it, to make it more flat, to be able to reflect light. All this sanding and polishing is preparing this mirror for space. The mirror will be part of a spacecraft which will actually orbit the Earth. It will launch in December on NASA's Shuttle Endeavour. The spacecraft will be made up of thousands of mirrors like this from schools all over the world.
We get a chance to actually work on something that's going to be in space, and it's monumental.
When completed, the Starshine sphere will look a lot like this disco ball, except it will be about twice as big. And 2 times a day at dusk and dawn, students will be able to look up and see the sphere with their naked eye.
It'll look like a star, but it'll be moving across the horizon. It'll probably take about 5 to 6 minutes to go across. So it'll look like a star, a little bit brighter, and it'll have a little more twinkle to it.
The sphere will be in space for about 6 months. During this time, students will learn to calculate things like its speed and the density of the atmosphere.
Students get excited. Students do the material, they do the calculations, and they're doing the science. That's the big game.
Some of these high schoolers even see another benefit.
This is really fun. It's a great opportunity, and it's going to look good on a college application.
Teachers just hope this real-world experience will broaden their minds. In Great Falls, I'm Kelsey Kittner from Montana's news station.
And Rick Husband now flipping 3 switches on the cockpit to start the auxiliary power units. Now the 3 main engines are being gimbaled or steered through their rate of travel. Vent arm be retracted, the beanie cap from over the top of the external tank.
Flight crew, close and lock your visors and initiate O2 flow. As certain as the risen sun, may your international teamwork be the dawn of new human discovery.
Liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen fill and drain valves are closed. External tank strut heaters are now off. Payload bay vent doors now being positioned. Standing by for the handoff to Discovery's computers. The handoff has occurred. The ground launch sequencer has handed off to Discovery's computers, which are now controlling the countdown. SRB nozzle gimbal complete. Firing chain is armed. T-minus 15 seconds. Sound suppression water system is now activating. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery on the first mission to dock with the orbiting International Space Station. And the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Houston Discovery, roll program.
Roger, roll Discovery.
Houston now controlling. Roll maneuver complete. Discovery now in a heads down, wings level position, headed to a 173 nautical mile orbit, inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. 3 main engines now throttling down to 67% of rated thrust as the orbiter passes through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure. Engines now back up at 104%.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Roger, Houston, go at throttle up.
Discovery's 3 liquid fuel engines now back at full throttle, 104% of rated thrust. Altitude now 8.5 miles, downrange 6 miles. 1 minute 30 seconds into the flight with more than 2.25 million pounds of propellant having already been used, Discovery now weighs half of what it did at liftoff. Standing by for the next major event, which will be the burnout and separation of the 2 solid rocket boosters that occurring a little more than 2 minutes into flight. Booster officer confirms good separation of the solid rocket boosters.
For the first time in over 6 months, a space shuttle lifted off at the Kennedy Space Center this morning on a mission to continue building the International Space Station. CBS's Lisa Hughes was there.
And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery.
After a flawless liftoff, Space Shuttle Discovery, loaded with roughly 2 tons of supplies, is heading for the International Space Station.
It's really a ride of a lifetime. You've got 7 million pounds of thrust beneath you, lifting you up, going from lying stationary to 25 times the speed of sound in 8.5 minutes.
Now that Discovery is on its way, NASA officials admit the recent rash of unmanned military and commercial rocket failures created an air of anxiety before the launch.
It did not bother me, although I sense in the surrounding community there was a heightened expectation of, or heightened awareness of the potential for failure.
When Discovery reaches the space station, probably on Saturday, it will dock with the complex for the first time. Later that day, 2 astronauts are scheduled to take a 6-hour spacewalk. They'll attach tools to the station, including a large crane to be used during future missions. During most of the next 4 days, the crews will be busy unloading all kinds of equipment and supplies, everything from garbage bags to laptop computers.
It's one thing to put the walls up, but you've got to have things in the closet, you've got to have food in the pantry.
The next piece of the International Space Station won't be launched from here. It's an unmanned Russian module carrying the living quarters and a propulsion system. It's already more than a year overdue, but if it does go up this fall, the first crew could be living in space early next year. Lisa Hughes, CBS News at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. A little bit of Great Falls handiwork is on board the Space Shuttle Discovery. The Astronomy Club at Great Falls High School helped put together a mirror that's on its way to space. The mirror is part of a giant object resembling a disco ball that will measure the density of the atmosphere. Great Falls High School and all of the kids' names are on the mirror as it makes its way around the Earth. And now, when the Astronomy Club is watching the sky, they can see their own work.
Rocket was put up there in 1976. Look, and as soon as we look up there, there it goes across the sky. And it gives them kind of some power. So the best part is that to know that we help build something and we have the power to predict that it's coming across. And then we get to look. It's just satisfying. So.
The news station's Amy Davidson will have more on the students' role in the shuttle's experiment tonight at 5:30.
From the Discovery Shuttle on June 5th will bear aluminum mirrors polished by Great Falls High School students last spring. This morning, the Discovery blasted off on its 96th mission. Its primary goal is to carry the 3rd piece of the International Space Station into orbit. The 9 Great Falls High School students joined students from 1,000 schools around the world to grind and polish small mirrors on the sphere also aboard. Students will be able to track the ball from the ground.
We're going to try and trace it in the night sky between twilight and dusk, and we're going to see if we can track it and find the velocity and see how fast it's going across the sky and send a link to NASA.
You too can observe the twinkling ball just before sunrise and after sunset after it's deployed on June 5th.
We'll have to find out where that is and pass it on.
Yeah, kind of exciting. Look up there and see a bit of Great Falls up there.
Right now, Discovery orbiting 240 miles above the Earth's surface, just passing over the equator on its 140th trip around the world. Starshine satellite was deployed at 2:21 a.m. Central Time as it orbited over the Indian Ocean, south of the southern tip of India.
Discovery Houston, be advised, we're locked up on K-band. We have about 9 minutes before we hand over to Mila. If you think you can get the video down to us in that window, we'll take it. If not, we'll take it after the comm checks. Your choice.
Okay, Beamer, we'll send Beamer, here it comes.
Roger, we're coming on board now.
Here we have the view in the aft part of our orbiter. We're looking right at Starshine, and wait till you see it come out. It's an explosion of light. This is the view that we had from the crew compartment. And another one of our payload bay cameras from the forward part of the orbiter. So there it goes. You can see those little flashes of light. We were able to see those for minutes and minutes after it went down below us. It was absolutely beautiful satellite. Just want to say how much we understand and appreciate the cooperation, huge effort that went into creating the satellite. Hundreds of schools, thousands of children. Thanks a lot. We'll look forward to tracking it on the ground. And here's Julie with a few words too.
A mirror that's now in space.
The new station's Amy Davidson takes us into orbit.
It's like a 19-inch disco ball.
A disco ball that'll be able to measure the density of the atmosphere. To give it that disco look, the satellite is made up of over 800 mirrors. Each mirror has to be shined to perfection, and that's where Great Falls High comes in.
We got the mirrors, and we polished the mirrors.
The club then sent the mirror to NASA to hitch a ride into space.
It's really neat. It's something I've touched is up there orbiting space at 20,000 miles an hour.
On the last day of the shuttle's mission, the mirror will be dropped into space. Then it will spend about 6 months orbiting the Earth.
It'll be the brightest object in the sky when it goes across, between the morning dusk and the evening.
The satellite will send information about the atmosphere's drag back to Earth.
Well, it helps us know how we can build better spaceships.
The club plans on having sky watching parties so they can check out the satellite.
We can calculate with this internet site where the satellites are coming across.
The best part about this is anybody can find out where the satellite is anytime. All you have to do is log onto their website, type in Great Falls, and you can find out exactly where the Starshine is. If you want to log on, make sure you do it soon because the satellite won't be in space forever.
After the 6 months after its orbit is done, it'll come back into the atmosphere, and when everything comes back in the atmosphere, it burns up. And so all our mirrors and stuff will be disintegrated somewhere.
The mirror might disintegrate, but the impact of the project on the kids will be with them for a lifetime. In Great Falls, Amy Davidson, Montana's news station. If you'd like to log on to the Starshine website, you can by visiting the website that's listed on your screen. Just as easy as that.
All right.
1,400 miles per hour. Altitude 216,000 feet. Range to touchdown at the Kennedy Space Center, 1,400 miles. Discovery continuing a steep left bank with wings angled about 60 degrees. That call that we've regained voice communications with the spacecraft via tracking stations at Merritt Island in Florida. Discovery's speed now 4,200 miles per hour. Altitude 130,000 feet. Range to touchdown 206 statute miles. Altitude 122,000 feet. Speed 3,600 miles per hour, or about Mach 5 times the speed of sound. On Discovery's flight deck, Commander Kent Rominger, pilot Rick Husband, flight engineer Ellen Ochoa in the center aft seat, and in the right-hand aft seat, Canadian astronaut Julie Payette. 75 miles to touchdown, 6.5 minutes to touchdown. Speed 800 miles per hour, or about Mach 1.2. Altitude 53,000 feet. Altitude 22,500 feet. Speed 465 miles per hour. 13 miles to touchdown. speed 405 miles per hour, altitude 12,000 feet.
Discovery field inside.
Roger.
Discovery leveling off as it makes a final approach toward runway 15. 600 feet. Landing gears down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Drag chute deploy. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery finishing a perfect flight after preparing a new home in space. Drag chute jettison. Central Daylight Time, that equates to 1:02 and 43 seconds a.m. Central Time. Nose gear touchdown at 9 days, 19 hours, 13 minutes and 16 seconds, or 1:02 and 58 seconds a.m. Central Daylight Time. And wheel stop at 9 days, 19 hours, 13 minutes and 57 seconds, or 1:03 and 39 seconds a.m. Central Daylight Time.